Nope. Nope.
No, I beat Elden Ring. I finally beat Elden Ring.
Nice.
187 hours and 56 minutes.
I'm at like 36 hours in that game.
Once I finally got the pattern of it, I mean, it wasn't that hard, but I was also like level 192 fighting the end boss. And like recommended levels like 150 or 170, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. And now I'm on my second playthrough.
You do a new game?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, why?
Yep. So I have every trophy unlocked except for two of the. I have two more trophies to get, and it's two endings.
Okay.
So it's like, you know what? Yeah, I'll just like power through the game because like I already ran through and like fought Magret the Fallen, the Fell Omen.
Mm-hmm.
Killed him in like 3 hits.
Like the first time?
Yeah.
No.
Because
cool.
I mean, so it's like it's not even gonna like get the challenge back to challenging again until I think I get to like the Frost Giants, and, like the actual like.
So you can like breeze through the beginning.
Yeah, and also I was thinking, I was like, I don't even have to like. I could skip Stormvale, skip Renala, just go up to the Atlas Plateau through like through a back entranceway, run through the Atlas Plateau to the end of that, and then get to the like thinking about it, I was like, wow, you could like I see how you could literally like beat this game in like under an hour.
Oh, well, especially with New Game Plus and your high level.
So I don't know. I'm gonna have fun with that a little bit, and now it's just kind of like twiddling my thumbs, waiting for the DLC, which I'm definitely gonna get.
There's a DLC for it.
They did a DLC for Bloodborne. They've done DLCs.
I mean, has it been announced they're doing a DLC?
No, but I'm assuming they will because like it's like if they did a DLC for Bloodborne, Dark Souls 2, and Dark Souls 3, you know, I think they did a DLC for Sekiro.
Oh God, I just heard about a really cool DLC coming out that we both be really excited for.
Oh, yeah.
Can't remember what it was. I was like, what? But damn it.
All right, well, let's get into it.
This is Tommy.
I am Ron Burgundy. This is Jacob.
This is
Tommy and Jacob's mixtape. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another week of us talking and stuff. Why aren't you talking, Tommy?
Because the way you said another week, you made me think of someone.
A week. Ooh.
Oh, you made me think of another.
I'm a ghost.
Another podcast intro.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the besties. He goes.
Oh,
I know the best game of the week, like that. No, I was
Oh.
like, why does that sound familiar?
I'm harking something I've never really listened to.
Exactly. By accident.
Hey, hope everybody had a good weekend, has having a good time. As if you haven't listened to us in a while, then welcome back. If you listened to us last week, then welcome back. I mean, welcome back, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. He's spiraling. Welcome back. We're going to be reviewing a movie today.
Yeah, we're doing a movie. We're back to movies. We got a fun block for you guys. It's what I've been calling it the dystopian apocalyptic block.
Yeah, and we're going to be doing a bunch of like fun end of the world action movie kind of stuff.
Yeah, because we realized we haven't really done a lot of like just like kind of fun action. I want to say this is a fun action movie.
Yeah, it's fun. In a certain light, but it's like, you know, as opposed to like we not do the road, like, not like a drama.
We might as well have almost done the road.
It's gonna change.
I know. Yeah, it'll get funner. But so to begin with, this week we are bringing to you our review of Snowpiercer,
the movie, not the TV show.
Yes, which I mean, very different things actually.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Snowpiercer. It came out. It has 2 years of release actually. It came out in South Korea in 2013, July 29th, 2013. And then it kind of had like a weird like year-long circuit of like going through festivals before it was officially like regular theatrical release, I guess is the way to put it.
Not
a limited release.
Limited and then a full-scale release.
Yeah, in June 24th on 2014. So like almost an entire year later.
And then full release in July 11th.
Oh, really? I missed that. Okay.
Like
Yeah.
Like what is the word? Full scale. No, it's not. I don't know. You know what I mean. Anyways.
You guys know what we're saying. So ratings really quick. It does have a 7.1 on IMDb. It had a 75 tomato meter on Rotten Tomatoes, and then an audience score of 68%. And then its Metascore was 84, which was the highest out of all of them, which I think is not generally the thing. But, I mean, well received, but it's strange because box office-wise... so in 2014, its domestic, it was number 147, and in 2013, its worldwide release, it was number 82.
Mm-hmm.
Box office did not do well. You got some stuff to talk about with that, Tommy?
Well, so yeah, number 82. The budget was $40 million, and it grossed $86.8 million worldwide.
Yeah, so it made double its money-ish.
Yeah.
Well, more than double, but not a lot.
Yeah, but I mean, still, that's more money than I'll ever have.
Yeah. But I mean, that's considered a box office flop.
Yeah, no, totally. But I mean, we've definitely seen worse on this podcast.
That is 100% true.
We've seen a lot worse.
And it's kind of weird. Just like, I think definitely, like, I thought the Weinstein, like the, like allegations, all conventions, I guess now, were part of like what made this movie kind of like.
I remember you saying that, and then I did the math. Not the math.
No, I looked at the years.
Yeah,
and
I looked
like,
at the timeline.
No. But Harvey Weinstein did have his fucking trying to put his dirty little paws into like the editing of this goddamn movie.
Yeah, like we talked about before, this is definitely Harvey Scissorhands got his involved.
This is Bong's vision.
No, but they still had conflict.
They 100% had conflict. Yeah.
No, but they call him Harvey Scissorhands because he to try and chop everything out.
Yeah,
and they
exactly.
had like 100% conflict, and he was trying to do that thing that he does.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we did what we counted for the year 2013, right? Mm-hmm. How many movies did you get?
Only 39.
I only had 23.
Yeah, I don't know. And it was weird too. I was looking at it, I was like, a lot of these movies I don't even know what they are. It wasn't even like, oh yeah, I remember that. I never saw it. It was just didn't.
Mm-hmm. I think it's starting to get to that as we get like later in like the 2010s and whatnot and closer to now, it's just kind of like, unless like it was a big box office thing, like
or streaming somewhere. Because also I just don't go to movie theaters very often anymore.
I wonder actually how much those box office numbers are different from like, because like there's no Netflix movies that we have watched and whatnot. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's interesting to think about.
Didn't we do a Netflix one and we were like, oh,
the Five Bloods.
The Five Bloods.
Yeah.
Right. So you didn't really have like, we were like missing.
That was also a new movie.
Yeah, we were missing a section. Yeah. Anyways.
But yeah. So let's. What's your synopsis?
Steve Rogers and a motley crew start a coup in a self-sustaining train as it travels around a frozen and dead Earth.
All right. I don't know why you got to go Steve Rogers.
Why? I had the vibe.
Not really.
That whole there's the second they're all lined up and they start charging. I just heard Avengers Assemble.
It's a fucking revolution. All right, so yeah, let's get into a writer, director, and all that stuff, all that fun, all that jazz, Anyway, all right, so this was directed by and did you like that?
No, I didn't. It's terrible. Anyways, yes, director, go.
Director and also partial screenwriter, Bong Joon-ho, who also, he won Academy Award for Parasite a couple of years ago. Also really probably known in the States mostly for like Okja and The Host. Mm-hmm. I looked at his Korean filmography, and he has a handful of like crime and mystery movies.
Yeah, like Memories of Murder, and then Mother, which sounded really interesting.
That did. Yeah.
Yeah, Mother is like a mom that is trying to basically prove her son's innocent after another woman is violently murdered. It's like a thriller thing. I don't know. It looks really...
I kind of want to go down his Korean filmography and just like see, because a lot of them have pretty decent high ratings too.
I'm a big Korean fan too.
I love Korean film as well. Yeah,
I love Korean shit. Even like TV, like Korean zombie movies are like, and TV shows are awesome.
I mean, well, yeah, there's like, let's go down that rabbit hole because we both really like our Korean film. Old Boy, you know. Mm-hmm. But like, he kind of like adapted the screenplay at first. Old Boy?
I haven't seen it since.
Oh yeah, Old Boy I think is what kind of got me into Korean film.
Oh, I didn't know.
It was Old Boy, 3 Iron.
I need to rewatch that.
Yeah.
I haven't watched that in a long time. Did you ever watch the remake?
Yeah, it was bad.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Dude, Josh Brolin.
Okay, I'm just asking.
I want to continue with this movie.
Well, I had a question, so you answer it, and then we can move on. All right.
God. So yeah, Bong Joon-ho, he started with the screenplay on this, and then he hired Kelly Masterson to kind of like work for them to work together because Bong Joon-ho was impressed with the work that he had seen from Kelly Masterson on on like Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, movies like that, which I think that one, and then I put down Killing Kennedy and Good People is the other two stuff that Kelly Masterson has done. But they don't really have a huge writing filmography. But they are a well-known playwright, but I couldn't really find many of the plays that they've written as well. So they're just kind of around writer, you know.
Yeah. I do want to watch Killing Kennedy.
I really want to see the Before the Devil Knows You're Dead.
No, it also looked interesting too.
But yeah, so they're really like, I'm going to say they wrote this story, this screenplay, because this screenplay and this story is a very different idea than what the actual... Oh, yeah, this is based off a graphic novel, we should say. And it's very different from the graphic novel.
Well, you know, like Bong Joon-ho, too, he discovered the graphic novel, fell in love with the idea, then got into talks about making it into a movie, and even realized that rather than take the graphic novel and then try and fit it into a 2-hour time mark, just take the bare premise of the train and make a movie out of it.
It's like a quote from that's on IMDb or on Wikipedia is that Bong praised the original graphic novel, but he soon realized that a film like Snowpiercer needed an original take. He stated, "I had to come up with a completely new story and new characters in order to create a new dynamic Snowpiercer that was packed with cinematic exhilaration." Because I mean the graphic novel is pretty expansive, but what was out by the time he started filming this was only like, I want to say 2 books. Like the first book is the one that he read, and then I don't think the second book didn't even come out until, well, that came out in 2000, and then the fourth one came out in 2015. So like, and the most recent one is like 2019.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So this is the graphic novel series is actually called Les Transpionnage. Did I say that right?
Sure.
It translates to the transportation or the transport, you know. But it was originally written by Jacques Loeb and Jean-Marc Roquette, and then later on in like the second part is then taken over by Benjamin Legrand. Oh yeah, and Jean-Marc Roquette is the artist for the graphic novel. Which the art looks really cool. Did you look at some of it?
Yeah, I did a couple little image searches on it.
Very French. It's very, very French. And actually, this story is very, very French still. Well, it's weird is that like Bong Joon-ho like took this like French story and I feel like made it more French because there's a lot. I feel, dude, when I was first watching, I was like, this is the French Revolution on a train.
Okay.
Did you not put that together?
I don't know. It was a revolution. I didn't put French Revolution, but sure. Yeah.
I mean, I was just thinking of French because of A Tale of Two Cities, the French Revolution. You know, it's a popular revolution. Fuck me, all right? But yeah, so the graphic novel, it was first published in 1982. And then the series
published by Casterman. I don't know why I wrote that down. But hey, now you know. And
then the series, by 2 more volumes in 1999, and then later in 2000. So like those are the first 3 books. And then pretty much I think because of the popularity of the movie, they were like, oh, well, let's continue the graphic novel again. And so in 2014, part 4 came out. And like I said, recently, 2019, part 5.
And now there's a TV show of it.
Which is telling the actual story of the graphic novel. It's not Bong Joon-ho's story of it.
I don't like the look of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's very different. It's just all different. It's just different.
The cast looks really great, though.
Yeah, it does. Sean Bean's in it, right?
Yeah, he's Wilfred.
Mm-hmm.
Or
the Wilfred character.
Yeah, it's Wilfred, right?
Yeah.
So he's gonna die.
Maybe
because it's Sean Bean.
I mean, oh yeah, yeah. There we go.
He dies a lot in his movie.
I think his name in the show is Colonel Crimson because that's the name of main bad guy in the graphic novel. Literally, no characters are same from the graphic novel to this movie. This movie is 100% new characters.
Yeah.
100% new storyline.
Yeah.
I think they just took the ideas of like maybe how the passengers were being fed and the whole societal separation stuff. Like, where does it? What did he say? Bong Joon-ho was fascinated by the ideas of people struggling on the train for survival and how every section is classified in social stratification. That was the word I was looking for.
That's a good word.
Yeah.
Stratification.
Condensation.
Okay.
Do you have anything else you kind of want to maybe between like graphic novel and like the movie at all, or do you want to just start moving into starring actors?
Yeah, let's just move into starring actors, and then we can talk about this movie because I feel like there's a lot of like to kind of
unpack.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. All right, so there is a lot of people in this, but we went in before recording. We kind of talked about the main people.
Yeah.
So our lead, I guess.
Clearly, the lead and like your main focus of this movie is Chris Evans. Who plays Curtis.
Steve Rogers.
He's nothing like Steve Rogers.
You might know Chris Evans as Steve Rogers, Captain America.
Yeah, right.
From Avengers. He's boyfriend number 2 in Scott Pilgrim, or is he number 1?
He's not number 1.
Because number 3 is the vegan, right?
And he's the vegan.
No, he's the skateboarder. Superman is...
That's right. Brandon Routh is the... Oh, yeah. So maybe he is number 2. Or is he number 4? Or is he after the vegan? He's one of the boyfriends in Scott Pilgrim.
Can you do a flippy thing off that? Right? Isn't that what he's... Gotta do a flippy thing. Like,
I don't really remember that. Actually, I forgot that he was in Scott Pilgrim. So you said that, like, I just have like an image of it. I don't remember every moment of Scott Pilgrim.
Oh, okay, yeah. He's just the action star actor.
Oh yeah.
Extreme sports guy. By the way, he's talking. He's got like the jock strap beard.
Yeah.
What do you want? He always does that voice. He's actually really funny.
Chris Evans is actually a great comedic actor.
He was.
I mean, like the ones that I have written down, like he's also he's in. This is funny. He's in Fantastic Four as Johnny Storm, the original one, and he was a great Johnny Storm actually.
Yeah, him and Thing had a good.
Yeah, he was also in Not Another Teen Movie, which I know a lot of people don't really like those like satires, but that's like. When it came to like the beginning of those like satire movies, that one actually kind of stands out and holds very good satire.
I don't remember it, but
it's hilarious. And then one of his beginning, like one of his first movies, is a movie called The Perfect Score.
Oh my god, I forgot he was in that.
Was Scarlett Johansson?
Yeah, I forgot about that movie.
Yeah.
And like recently, he was in Knives Out, and he is going to be in the Buzz Lightyear movie that we mentioned.
I am Buzz Lightyear.
Last week?
To Infinity and Beyond.
I think we talked about.
Yeah, we brought it up a little bit last week. Yeah, so that's Chris Evans. If you guys don't know who he is, I mean, you really just don't watch movies then.
You don't see any trailers, you don't.
So then what did we want to go to Song Kang-ho?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I got kind of a short list for him. But he is just like one of the main characters, but he seems to work with Bong Joon-ho a lot.
Yeah, because even like 2 off the top, or he was the
he's the father in Parasite.
Father in Parasite, and he's in The Host.
Yeah, and I haven't seen The Host yet, so.
And that's like also because he does a lot of Korean movies, and just I came looking at his list. My Korean movie knowledge is pretty short, as much as I do. Like
because they release a lot of movies,
like
and they don't all reach America.
Yeah, but those are 2 that you might recognize him from.
He's one. He's one. I remember when we were talking about Parasite, you're like, I can't tell if he was really good in his performance because I don't really understand Korean. So it makes me wonder if I just think it was because of the script or...
Oh, yeah, and that was also like just in movies in general that are a different language that I don't understand. I'm like, oh, that's an interesting... Like, is it actually good? Or is it just because I don't understand the language that I'm like, that was amazing?
And, I mean, I feel like showing his performance in this to his difference that he was in Parasite, the motherfucker's a damn good actor.
Yeah, he's just a good actor.
So then I guess we'll go into the old leaders, the villain and whatnot. I guess the villain technically is Ed Harris.
Yeah,
is it Society?
Did we ever do Ed Harris?
I don't think we have, because the only movies that I have written down for Ed Harris is like The Truman Show, The Rock, And then a weird one that I remember is called Milk Money, where his 3 young kids befriend a prostitute played by Melanie Griffith, and then he falls in love with her.
Okay.
It's a very interesting story.
I wrote down The Truman Show, The Rock, and then Pollock, which was really good.
I don't remember what that is.
Jackson Pollock.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he plays Jackson Pollock.
Oh.
And then History of Violence.
I don't remember that movie. I feel like I have seen it because like I've seen like when like wait, is that the
Viggo Mortensen?
Yeah, it's Viggo Mortensen, but is that when he's like with the family?
Yeah, like he put himself in like a weird witness protection program.
Yeah. What is the other movie that was very violent that came out around the same time?
With him?
Yeah.
Eastern Promises?
Eastern Promises, yeah. I get
with
those,
Viggo Mortensen,
yeah,
right?
I get those confused.
That's right, because they also came out like I feel like they came out like neck and neck.
Yeah.
And they're both really fucking violent crime thrillers.
I know I've definitely seen A History of Violence because I've seen the beginning, but maybe I never finished it because I don't remember how that movie plays out.
You should rewatch that. I think you'd get a kick out of the thriller like double life thing.
That's fair because like I can't watch the beginning of that without thinking of the Bob's Burgers Archer History of Violence.
I forgot they ripped that off. Yeah,
yeah, it's one of the best moments in Archer.
And it's such an obscure reference too.
It's so good.
Like,
it's one of the best.
What if we make a History of Violence joke in an Archer episode where we're pretending that they're Bob's from Bob's Burger?
Because H. John Benjamin does the voice of Archer
it's
and
like,
Bob. It's
pretty meta.
It's meta on so many levels.
Yeah, it really is. I forgot about that. Yeah, History of Violence was really good. And Eastern Promises was cool too. He's just maybe Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah, I definitely have not seen Eastern Promises.
You need to watch that one too. He's pretty incredible in that.
Okay, well now we're on Viggo Mortensen, who's not in this movie.
So Hidalgo.
So yeah, that was Ed Harris. And then John Hurt, who's kind of like Curtis's mentor type character. Hellboy.
I believe it's Sir John Hurt.
Oh, my apologies. So John Hurt, fucking John Hurt.
Sir John Hurt.
I think most recognizable for people around our age, probably as the father figure in the first Hellboy, the original Hellboy.
The wand guy in Harry Potter.
That's right. That's him.
Yeah.
Okay. I was sitting there when I was looking at Harry Potter and I was seeing the name. I was like, I don't know who that is.
Yeah, I think he's the wand guy.
That makes, okay.
I just haven't seen the first one in forever, so
I know. I remember him like in Deathly Hallows Part 2 where he like is like listening to the wand.
It's totally him. Yeah. Okay. And then probably also V for Vendetta.
I never put that together. That's right. He's
the Chancellor.
Yeah, he's the face.
The bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I put down the Elephant Man.
He's the face
on the screen.
Oh, okay.
not Fox. Yeah.
I was like, what?
Not the mask. Not the anonymous mask.
I was like, what are you talking? I was like, for a second, I was like, is he?
No. I put down Elephant Man because he played Merrick, the Elephant Man, with all the prosthetics.
Oh, it was him?
Yeah, that was
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Oh, cool. And any?
I guess really quick, pulling out Tilda Swinton. Who recently has been in Doctor Strange. She's in Constantine. We need to talk about Kevin. Any other?
Narnia. She's the...
Oh, yeah.
The white...
Burn After Reading.
The white... What is she? The Ice Queen? The White Queen? What is she called in Narnia?
I want to say the Ice Queen is... That sounds right. The Ice Witch.
The Ice Witch. Is that right?
The White Witch.
The White Witch.
The White Queen.
They all work. Every single one of them works.
It's a metaphor for something.
Yeah.
And then Octavia Spencer, definitely, who probably biggest known for probably The Help and Hidden Figures.
And
maybe recently Ma.
Yeah, Mama.
No, Ma.
That's just Ma?
That's just Ma.
I thought it was Mama. Yeah. I would say those are like the three that kind of come to mind. Jamie Bell's in this for a minute.
I thought he was going to have such a bigger role.
I did too. It felt that way.
Yeah.
I felt that with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, well,
yep.
I guess we're watching Game of Thrones and Walking Dead.
Yep, in 2 hours.
Nobody's safe.
Jamie Bell, who was in Fantastic Four.
As
amusing, there was a Fantastic Four.
Yeah,
he was Thing.
He was the Thing.
Yeah, he was Ben Grimm.
Oh, I thought he would have been the Storm.
No, because that was Michael B. Jordan.
Oh, right.
Mhm.
God, I don't remember that movie.
And then he's also...
And I want to bring up Billy Elliot, which is incredible.
No, he was Billy Elliot. Yeah,
which is an incredible movie.
And then he's also in a weird movie called Jumper. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, with
Hayden Christensen.
Yeah, Hayden Christensen.
I vaguely remember that movie.
A cool concept, but it was just such a...
It was just poorly delivered.
And it's just a popcorn movie.
Yeah.
It's just a summer popcorn movie.
And he plays a kind of an asshole in the Elton John biopic, Rocket Man. The guy who kind of like ruins... Or maybe he is the one that ruins Elton's like life in a big way. I think it's him.
And then he's also in this really cool World War II movie called Defiance. I don't know if you ever saw that.
I haven't.
With Daniel Craig. Takes a bunch of refugees during World War II and hides them like in the woods. And they're trying to like keep hidden from the Nazis and stuff. It was kind of interesting.
And then do you want to just shout out to Koa Sung?
Yeah.
Which she has. I couldn't really see any other like American films that she's really done.
She's in the Host, I believe.
Yeah, that's right.
She's in the Host as well.
Yeah.
She's
bringing back. Yeah, he likes to work with the same people.
She has 23 acting credits. A lot of them are Korean,
and a lot of it's also like Korean television. It looks like, too.
Yeah,
or series at least.
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much all the main people. Right. Let me just do it.
I mean, it's a quick shout out to Alison Pill.
Alison Pill and Ewan Bremner.
Yeah.
And that's kind of
the
more notable, I would say.
Yeah, so like really just like a lot of recognizable faces in this movie.
Yeah. But it really is following over the shoulder of Chris Evans.
Yeah.
And then his interactions with
everyone. Yeah.
Everyone.
It's Curtis's hero's journey.
Yeah.
So like we're getting everything for like in his narrative.
Actually, it's more of a redemption arc than a hero's journey.
I mean, they follow the same steps.
Whatever. I'm going to say redemption arc.
No, you can say that.
Anyways.
Because what happens when you're redeemed? You become the hero.
That's not true. I'm trying to think of someone that's not the case. I'll think of one.
Yeah, so, well, let's...
Actually... Yeah, okay, we'll get to that. Because I'm like, wait a minute. This movie itself, too, like, there's like...
I mean, hero's journey doesn't necessarily mean that they have to become the hero. It's just about the journey that... It's like the everyman's journey, if you really want to put it down. It's the extraordinary journey. Yeah, but so where do you get in for reviews?
I forgot to do this.
Okay.
I just heard it go off.
Yeah, so let's move into reviews.
Okay, so on Metacritic, there are 35 positive, 3 mixed, and 0 negative.
Really? 0 negative?
Yeah, which I was really surprised by. I mean, the lowest of the mix goes down to 50, so it's not like great. But let's see.
I expect someone to be like, the movie is super unbelievable for that many people to be believing on a train.
Yeah. Dana Stevens at Slate was my first positive. Snowpiercer is its own strange special thing, a movie that seems to have been sent back to us from some distant alternate future where grandiose summer action movies can be also lovingly crafted, thematical, ambitious works of art.
Word. And
then for the mixed... Where are you? Inku King at the Wrap. In superlative previous films like The Host and Mother, Bong elevated, then transcended the humble genres of the monster movie and the murder mystery by refashioning them into exquisitely heart-wrenching human drama. Disappointingly then, his alchemic touch is absent here. Snowpiercer warms the heart but doesn't penetrate it.
Okay.
So I was like, okay.
Penetrate.
And that's like, I mean, I don't know. Like I was like you were saying, I'm kind of surprised there wasn't more of a little bit like negative review because of the fact too this movie had moments where it felt like it wasn't really sure what it was doing.
Yeah, it's definitely when it starts like unfolding, it kind of turns into like a journey of like just a slow journey and whatnot. It's really put it.
Yeah, like I had a thought for that, but I can't remember what it was. But yeah, I mean, I guess all in all, did you like it?
Yeah, no, I did enjoy it.
And was this your first time watching it?
Yes, it was my first time seeing it, and I would kind of say in a big way, like I was interested at the beginning, and then I kind of lost me through a little bit towards the middle, getting towards the end. It is a little bit long. It's like 2 hours and 6 minutes, and I don't feel like it needs to be that long. But then when Chris Evans does his monologue at the end, when they're at the final gate, and the revelation of what they did, I was like, oh, fuck. And then like all of a sudden I was like super interested in the movie. Like that brought me back in a weird way, because it just became so weird and real at the same time. I was like, holy shit, you know?
Well, like, and this is what I was looking for. This is another one that I found. Jordan Adler of We've Got This Covered wrote, "We leave Snowpiercer more exhausted with questions than invigorated by its unique vision and style. It is a formidable example of directorial control bogged down by poor writing, half-finished effects work, and a rather thin exploration of a fascinating dystopian universe."
I mean, yeah, that's pretty. That should just be. That's a negative review in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's what I was like, because I wasn't on, but this is like the negative I did find off of Metacritic, and I just because it is.
There's parts of it that I do agree with though,
because I agree with the exhausted with questions, and that goes into the next part of. Then the thin exploration of a fascinating dystopian universe.
But that makes sense because of like how because the world is this train to these people.
No, I know, but it's like it's one of those like I'm sure in the show they probably explored this more. You can only do so much in 2 hours,
like kind of like the total satisfaction that they were talking that Bong Joon-ho was like drawn to.
Yeah,
they didn't really explore really a lot of that.
Yeah,
like, they kind of had to just like quickly move through those moments.
Yeah, I had to move from car to car, scene to scene, and that's actually kind of an interesting idea too, scene to scene, car to car. But yeah, just like it did, the dystopian world did feel thin, and like you were saying to the fact that their world is this train that. It didn't. I don't know. It didn't mesh well, and I feel like you could have had a vague explanation, but still be impactful. Like the only moment that I really think of that kind of gives you a real idea of what's going on, at least like with the higher up in the train, is the school scene, and that's the only time you actually kind of get an idea of what these like programming is for these people.
Yeah,
and then it kind of just goes back into action movie.
Viva la revolution!
Yeah, like quickly, just like, all right, now let's go. Here you go. Here's your explanation. And that was the kind of like think what the thin part of it was.
I actually kind of liked that because it was it was everything shown through the sense of like it's children's teaching. It's from the school. So like we now as an audience member are learning it in the way that the children learn it, Yeah. So it's kind of like, oh, okay, like this is like one, it's explained to us in a very simple way. Two, we see how people like become very like Stockholm syndrome or like brainwashed into believing all of these things and whatnot, because from a young age that's just what they're told. And in like any kind of tyrannical like society, you're told not to ask questions. You have to believe what you believe, what's been told to you. Yay, dictatorships.
Well, let's get into it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what do you feel the theme of this movie is? I mean, I think it's obvious that
Well, like it's gonna start like with going into the dystopian thing. The main problem, we are in a global warming crisis, so we create a chemical called CW7. Right?
Yeah,
is that right? Yeah, CW7, and it's this. Implies some kind of gas that's going to be.
It's supposed to help fix the global warming and that gas,
cool down the planet.
Yeah, cool down the greenhouse effect. The hole in the ozone. What's happening right now? Climate change and global warming. It's so this is fix that, and it backfires. This
is what happened. This is a sequel to Days After Tomorrow.
Sure, yeah.
But so the premise is, like we were saying, is that there's this self-sustaining train that can loop around basically the entire planet, and people live on it, and there's a hierarchy system.
They have to live on it because
the world is now a frozen, barren wasteland.
It's inhabitable.
Yeah. You can be outside, what, 7 minutes before?
Yeah,
No.
that's what they say. Well, at the place that those people walk out, yeah, it's 7 minutes and they froze.
Yeah, and it's the...
Or no, they made maybe the 15 minutes. Yeah, they froze to death outside of the train within like 10 minutes or something. Well, the man's arm got frozen at 7 minutes. But I feel like that's also when the train's at a specific altitude as well. Like this train is going up.
Well, that's what they even say. They're like, at this altitude, it'll be 7 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, because you start to notice that there is like the ice melting and whatnot around stuff and whatnot. Yeah, no, this movie is very much the theme of this movie is revolution.
Yes.
It's a building. It's setting up the idea of classism and showing how like it going into like Russian stuff like that. It's the proletariat, the low and low class social like that have been like oppressed by the higher class. And it's about rising up and taking over the upper class to then make what the idea would be to take down the bourgeoisie to create an equal playground for everybody to turn it into some type of socialist world.
Mm-hmm. And those in the back of the train are the low, and then you have the front of the train, which are high. Mm-hmm. And
the back of the train truly live in squalor. It's like literally, as I'm looking at this, like it's like fuck, dude. It's like looks like homeless encampments.
Yeah. And there's 1,000 of them living in there.
There was 1,000 that got on the train.
Oh yeah, but yeah, I don't know. It's like, and then we meet our Curtis, who's Chris Evans, and he is basically like a train baby. He was very young.
He was 17 years old.
Yeah, he was very young.
He says so he states it like he's like yeah.
But I mean, he's like. Half of his life has been in the world before, and the other half of his life has been. So he has an interesting point of view when it comes to the before and the current.
Yeah.
Because he was there for like all the uprisings, and he's been there
on the train.
Yeah, he's been there since day one.
Well, I mean, do we want to talk about what the beginning of that all was with his monologue, or do we want to wait to finish?
Let's wait.
Okay, because that was intense.
Yeah. And we find, and what I liked about it too is it like starts off with he already has the plan. We don't see him making the plan really.
He has a plan, but there's also he keeps getting notes from somewhere higher up in the train.
Yeah,
inside of their gelatin bars that they eat.
Their protein blocks. Yeah, they get these gray, black, Jello looking things that are like looks like tar soap.
Yeah. And that's actually in the last train car where they are, that's their currency.
Yeah, like they use that to trade for
what have you. Yeah. And also, what was the drug called? Clinton?
Clinton?
No, it was like Knole.
Chrono. Kronole.
Chrono. Yeah. So, and it's like weird. Chrono is a drug that, like people just have become addicted to on the train.
It's like a hallucinogenic made from industrial waste.
Yeah, and it's very flammable.
Yeah, that was a little on the nose.
Actually, that was I didn't really pick that up because I didn't pick up that Chrono was flammable until they started talking about it at the end.
Oh, okay. I mean, like when you heard that flammable shit, you're like, oh, okay. That's
I just didn't pick up on it.
That's going to come back around. So yeah, there's this drug going around. It's just the back of the train is just very squalor.
Yeah.
And then we get basically this, like, then very much quickly you also find out that the upper class of the society will take children.
Yeah, they just start randomly taking children, and you don't know why.
And they're measuring them. Yeah, a certain size. So the smaller, the better was kind of the thing. But not like a baby, like a toddler, like a 5-year-old.
They said like the age between like 4 and 6 or 4 and 5.
Something like that.
Was like the best. But yeah, so, Curtis, you can tell that he's starting to he has an idea for a revolution, and he's kind of like waiting for like the right time, the right note to be delivered in his little protein shit. And then you have... what was his name? What was John Hurt's character's name?
Gilliam.
Yeah, Gilliam.
Yeah, Gilliam.
Who is kind of like, he's like the wise man for everybody in the squalor. He's like their elder.
Yeah.
Their elder chief.
Yeah, and there's like this whole...
And he's missing limbs and stuff.
Yeah, and you like also find out that a punishment for infractions is by sticking arms and stuff outside of the train to be frozen off.
And then to be shattered by a hammer. That was brutal.
Yeah.
That was a what the fuck moment.
And then during this whole like kind of conflict, you also meet Mason.
Tilda Swinton's
character, who I thought was great because it was like... It didn't feel like Tilda Swinton, but you clearly knew it was.
Yeah.
But just her whole look and her entire monologue about the shoe.
Yeah.
It was great. Like, it was a really good... The shoe belongs on the foot. You are the shoe. I am the hat. It was just... And her, like...
It's very much like telling these people, like, you are nothing, so stop doing...
Stop acting out. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, she had some really great... All of her at the front of, like, talking to the crowd moments were...
It's very condescending speech, but it's kind of like... It's like...
Captivating.
Well, yeah, no, but, like, I'm trying to think, like, for the people that are listening to it, like, for some of those people, they're probably just like, yes, sorry, apologize. And it's like, yeah, it's weird. It's like weird Stockholm syndrome, but there's people that want to rise up out of it as well still. You know, like Curtis. I mean, a lot of the train is behind on the revolution, you know, backing the revolution.
Well, even they have all those great, like, everything in its preordained place. Yeah. And they do all the hand gestures of, like, gears.
A repetitive gesture, yeah.
Yeah. And that was cool for world building because then you saw other people doing it. So this is a symbol.
Like, you see the kids do it on the school train, and then even, like, Wilford at the end, he does it to, like, prove a point to Curtis.
Yeah, and it's like this whole idea too that this train itself has almost become like a deity.
I mean, you know, a big thing is, like, honestly, if we really want to talk about this movie, we need to just jump to the end and talk about what we learned from Wilfred about Gilliam and what the people went through, because the journey through everything really just, like, it's just a revolution and kind of like an action movie, but the meat of this movie, the theme and everything is at the end. You know, when you have the revelation that Gilliam and Wilfred have actually been working together.
Yeah.
When you find out that Curtis, when they got onto the train and everybody was living in squalor, they became cannibalistic. And then Gilliam rising up to stop that with his own sacrifice. That's the meat of the story of this movie, really.
I thought it was weird, though, they didn't give any kind of real concrete explanation of how that decision was made and why Gilliam was so, like, seemingly okay with going to live in the squalor for, like, I guess for the greater good is kind of like he was just believed in it.
Yeah.
There's no
I don't know. I have no idea. Because that's another thing is, like, knowing that the revolution wasn't supposed to get as far as it got. It was supposed to stop at a certain point, but Curtis was actually smart enough to, like, know that there was fire and they could actually continue fighting, you know?
Well, yeah, so, like...
Because even Gilliam's like, are you sure we should continue forward?
I mean, but even that's a great scene. Yeah, because he was trying to stop it right then and there.
Yeah, because that was the agreement with Wilford.
Yeah. But that was even a really great, like, that whole... I don't know if you noticed, but during that whole dark blackout scene, there was no music playing. It was just dead silent, except for... That was
just
cool.
The sound of
people dying, like,
flesh ripping, and
that was intense. I was like, whoa. There's a lot of really cool, like, shots in this.
There's a lot of really cool shots. A lot of cool cinematography, and then just, like, moments like what I was saying earlier was like, what the fuck? Like, the first one I would say is possibly the dude getting his arm put out the train, and then the breaking of his arm while it's frozen shattered. That was what the fuck. Realizing that there's no bullets in the guns.
Oh yeah, and that was just like that's
the
like,
beginning of that's when, like, when the fucking French came out with the goddamn guillotine and just started fucking killing everybody and chopping off their heads, calling down for the king.
Yeah. That was even that moment where he goes up and he, like,
pulls the trigger.
Yeah.
Like, he believes it so much, he lets the barrel come to his head and he pulls the trigger himself.
Well, I think it's also he doesn't want to be... It's not even believe. He doesn't want to be wrong and get everyone else killed. So he's like, all right, well, I die. Then, okay, they have bullets. Everyone knows that now. But, yeah. What I also thought was like going back to the shots too, just how each train is such a confined space.
Yeah.
There was these moments of it felt like there was a lot happening in these kind of like grand like battle scenes, but it's still in like a 10-foot by like 8-foot long car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it like there's a lot of dense like moments happening, and I just thought that was really interesting. It's like straight up Braveheart, you know, they're all fucking going at each other with axes.
There's a part of that feels a little like, I feel like the design of the train, I guess the word I'm thinking of. I don't know, just like I guess I like when we look at the train from the outside, it kind of looks like the size of a normal train, but maybe it's like twice the size of that.
Well, because also you don't have like a when you're looking at the outside, you don't really have a reference point.
Yeah, exactly.
You never see like a human standing next to it, or you know.
Well, I guess we do at the end.
Yeah, it's all toppled over though.
Yeah, yeah. There is a part of it where I kind of question about like like the how large the train like is with the people and whatnot. I don't know. There's just like, how are they fitting so many people in like this in these cars type thing?
I'm curious how many cars there were, because you never really get a great like a real idea.
Well, in the novel, there's 1,001.
Oh, so let's just say there's 1,001 in the movie. Why not? Because that's the only reference.
Also, that makes you wonder like how long it would take to get to through 1,000 cars from the very back.
And that goes, but it also goes into how big are the cars? Because I mean, they have a night. They go through a full day. So like, from what we see, this is 2.5, maybe 3 days.
Yeah,
from back to front, maybe. And I'm just thinking because of the one night scene we have, and then there's a lot of. Then you're just kind of in dark cars. You don't see another daylight until maybe it's a third day. 3 days.
I don't know. They don't really like the time. Time is really not a factor in this movie. But yeah, so what fuck the crickets when you find out what the protein bars are?
Yeah, but then when you find out like what you were saying about the whole cannibal thing, I'm like, are the roaches like really the worst thing on the face of the planet?
That's true. Yeah,
like considering what your alternative was, and that's what I thought was because. I guess that was like...
They weren't crickets, those were roaches. Never mind. Yeah.
But, like, I thought it was just, like, interesting, too, because I was like, oh, I was really... You know, I immediately thought this was going to go, like, oh, they're taking the kids to make them into food.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be, like, Soylent Green shit.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, oh, no, they're eating bugs, which I thought was funny, too, because I'm like, well, that's a very... But a lot of cultures eat bugs.
Yeah, but the thing with it is, too... it's what these people are only being offered and fed in secret. Like it's kind of, there's something gross about the fact that this is what they're feeding them and the people don't know it. They don't have a choice in understanding what they are eating.
Yeah, and then there's also the element too where you meet Paul, who's the guy that makes the food, and he's basically just in isolation in the food making protein block truck or a car. Yeah. And he's like totally wackadoodle.
Yeah, he's lost his fucking mind.
Because he's been alone just making the shit by himself. And that's also like this, like again, they don't treat him as he's a part, he's not a person.
Yeah.
He has his preordained position, and his position is to be alone in this car making food.
Eating what he makes as well. Yeah. He doesn't get anything else.
Yeah, knowing what it is and making it for everybody.
Okay. Yeah. It's fucked up.
Yeah.
I would say the next what the fuck moment is when they get to, well, I guess it's the fight, the first big fight.
Yeah, this is when we get to the new year, basically. And this was like such an interesting thing too. It was just, and this is where the identity thing kind of comes, like where I find myself kind of questioning what's going on really, because they go into the next car and it opens up and it's all the guys with the axes and the black masks and stuff. And I'm like, what's going on in here? You know, it's like this an empty cart filled with a bunch of mask wielding. It looks like the Purge.
Yeah. That's what it's going to turn into.
Yeah, but it's like this. Like it's almost turns for a brief moment. It's like the beginning of a horror movie, and I was like, okay. And there's that great fish scene, which apparently was one of the conflicts that Weinstein had, and he straight up lied to him. And did you read about that?
Yeah.
And then Chris Evans trips on the fish. Like it's like almost comedic. You know what I mean? There's this moment where I'm like, what's going on in here? Like, but yeah, and that was the big what the fuck moment because they're. murdering each other, get the upper hand. Then they go through the tunnel, and then it's
the long dark tunnel,
night vision murder scene.
Yeah,
and that was real what the fuck.
And then Chris Evans realizes that someone has a match where they can come out with fire to see, so they can start fighting everybody again.
And that made me laugh too, because then they send the little ninja guy, the parkour fighter. He starts
stabby.
Yeah, stabby. He starts running. I'm like, yo, stabby. Why aren't you with the rest of them? Because you're good at this. Like, come on up.
I actually kind of got the idea that he ran back from where they were to go grab the flame to come back with it, because he was kind of the faster one.
I got the feeling he was like Gilliam's bodyguard.
That too. He was kind of that as well.
Yeah, he was kind of like the unspoken, like never said, but like the bodyguard.
I read somewhere that there's unspoken that they had a homosexual relationship.
Is it because of that loving pat on the side of the face he does?
Yeah. I was like, okay, sure, whatever.
Who cares?
Yeah. I mean, essentially, like, we go through all of these trains, and like a lot of during this one, Curtis essentially he sacrifices Edgar, Jamie Bell's character,
his
protege,
little brother character.
Yeah, which he has a lot of guilt for, and because of what happened. Curtis gets Mason, and they're able to like hold her hostage and get her to like.
Why does she take out her teeth?
I don't know.
That's another one of those.
I don't know.
Okay.
There's a sushi scene where then Chris Evans makes her eat the protein bar, which I thought was awesome. We move forward, and then you learn that there are bullets on the train in the kid's car with the eggs.
And this is another what kind of we brought it up. This is another kind of what the fuck moment, because this goes into the brainwashing.
Yeah.
Again, this goes into the train is this vessel of God, and then Willard is God. Wilfred is God that is providing everything.
Yeah.
So
Chris Evans or Curtis, he gets another message in this like hard-boiled egg that says blood. He keeps getting these messages and it's very much they are delivered for him, and the people know to give it to him.
Yeah. He is weirdly becomes he's like the Messiah. Like,
well, he's the chosen one by Wilfred.
Yeah.
And Gilliam.
Interesting. I didn't think about that.
So I mean, I really just kind of want to fast forward to like the monologue and the talk with Wilfred, because I think that's really the most important
stuff. Because after this whole the whole teacher scene,
once you realize that there are bullets still on the train, which they thought bullets were extinct. That's the big thing. They always say like, "Oh, I always thought that was extinct." You know, like
whether it be a part or
I thought cigarettes were extinct. I thought fruit was extinct. But through all of this going up to the final gate, pretty much everybody dies except for Curtis and what's his character's name?
I wrote it down actually before we started. Nangung, Nangoong.
Namgung Munso. Yeah.
Nangung Munso. They end up being and then his daughter.
Yeah.
Yona,
yeah. They're the only ones that have really like survived, and like I guess quickly to mention is as they're reaching the final the engine, the fucking front of the goddamn train is like just a giant fucking like drug crazed rave.
Yeah, it's like the first one's a rave, and the next one's like a drug den orgy room.
Yeah, I think it's alluding to that, but they don't really like there's no one really having sex or anything.
And I guess also like with Nangdon too, the like important thing is he's the gatekeeper. Mm-hmm. He used to be a
high level security officer.
Yeah, so he knows how to open the doors to each of the trains. So he's a like pivot they need to protect him in a way.
Yeah, and him and his daughter are addicted to the cannoli,
which they're using as like the canola is like a currency. Open gate, you get this,
So like, but he also, Namgoon is also wants as much of it so then he can, because he knows that it's pretty much C4.
Yeah, and that's when I was like on the nose about the flammable thing.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is going to come back
somehow.
Yeah,
it was just like, I never picked up on the flammable thing until, I think when Curtis starts yelling, I was like, you're flammable bullshit, you can just have it. And I was like, oh, it's just flammable? What does that mean? Like, what are we doing here?
What are we going to do with that?
But really, this movie kind of like I said, like I get captivated with what was the real story of it, because like Curtis sits down And he tells Namgoon, he asks Namgoon, did you ever spend any time in the back of the train?
Well, because I think he calls him like a dirty back train pig or something.
Yeah,
that.
Namgoon calls him that. And you find out that apparently when they were all just like everybody that was in the back of the train that were able to get onto the train
didn't have a ticket. They were in the coal room of the Titanic.
Yeah.
They worked, like that idea. Like you get a free ride.
They weren't given any food. They weren't given anything. So they essentially started resorting to cannibalism, eating the weak, eating the young.
Yeah.
And at one point, and then Curtis goes into this really detailed story of that there was this woman with a child, and everyone started attacking the child. The woman for the child killed the woman, and then one of them was about to kill the child, the baby, for food when Gilliam stepped forward and was like, "Give me the child," thinking that Gilliam will do it because nobody could take up the gumption to do it. And then Gilliam said, "Instead of eating the child, take my limbs."
But yeah, and then he
take a limb from me.
Then he cut off his arm and provided as a sacrifice, a tribute, as opposed to eating the child. And that also is interesting because then it caused this
trickle effect of other people
doing it. And you do see in the back of the car there are people that are missing,
which is a good swerve, because when you really see that for the first time, all the people missing limbs,
you think it's the punishment.
You think it's the punishment thing, yeah. But it turns out that no, those were people that have been offering for food
themselves. Yeah. And then you find out that the man with the knife was in fact Curtis. And the baby was Edgar, his little brother character.
Was Jimmy Bell's character, yeah.
That he let die.
And Curtis also killed his mother.
Yeah.
So every time he would see Edgar, not only would he have the memory of I almost killed you as a baby for food, I also murdered your mother. And then Curtis also talks about how he wanted to sacrifice a limb, but he couldn't get himself to go through with it, and Gilliam saw that and saw something special in Curtis.
Well, that was interesting too. When you see his scar, you're like, you're like, what? What do you mean? That's
exactly
what happened here. So it does create this gives you very clear you don't know everything.
Yeah.
Something's coming up,
Yeah.
And Chris Evans,
he's Chris Evans' performance is wonderful.
Yeah, it was really good.
And that's when he kind of blows up, and he's like, that's why I need to get in that gate and talk to Wilford. I need to get in there because he needs to know what he had done to these people in the back.
Yeah.
And then Namgoon talks about how we need to get through this door to go outside because we can survive.
And Curtis is like, that's suicide. And then Namgoon starts explaining throughout the movie all these things that he's been noticing that, in fact, it's not as cold outside as... It's still cold, but it's not as deadly
he's
as
what if I told
thought.
You we could survive?
Yeah. And it's he has been seeing the airplane become more and more exposed, the crashed airplane. Even the snow that gets into the cabin is a melting kind of snow. I do like how it's just kind of thrown in the dialogue that he knew an Eskimo.
Oh, an Inuit, yeah.
An Inuit that explained the different kinds of snow. Or just there's another moment you're like, okay. Why are we talking about this, in this moment?
And then you find out later. Yeah, it's this is very much a movie, the last 20 minutes of it, everything is, you learn everything.
Yeah.
And it's really powerful when all of a sudden, the Wilford's door just opens.
He's invited in.
Yeah, and Curtis is just invited in. And that's when you find out that Wilford and Gillian had been working together to eliminate as much of the population in the back to make sure that there is an equal balance for the train. So then people that have been living in the squalor could stop possibly, but it would be at the sacrifice of 76% of them or something?
Something like that, yeah.
So it kind of turns into at what cost do you take for there to be an actual equality for everyone?
Yeah.
But then even though the way that Wilford explains it, it's very Thanos,
Oh yeah, I'm inevitable.
Yeah. And he even offers Curtis because Wilford's I'm old, I'm not going to be able to run this and keep this going forever. I need someone to follow in my footsteps. And Gilliam and I both agree that you are the right person to do this, because now you're the only one that's walked from the back of this train to the entire front of this train. You know every car. You know everything.
Well, and then it's also like his whole no position doesn't have its cons, basically.
Yeah.
My position is cooking steak. My position, I'm very lonely. Like,
yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah. But like you can tell like Curtis is almost swayed by it, and I think it's because of that whole like he is now kind of alone and the silence that he could have with it. Like there's something strange about like how he is almost like persuaded by Wilford until you find out, until you see, until what's her name? What's
Yona.
Yona runs in and reveals. I don't know. That's also like, how does she know that the kid is under there?
I was reading that there was this kind of unspoken thing with the like writers and the filmmakers that train babies almost have like this acute hearing.
Oh, so that's why she, like Curtis thought she was possibly clairvoyant.
Yeah, it's like this trained babies have this like train hearing.
Yeah,
they hear like they know like the hum of everything. So when they hear something different, it stands out to them.
Interesting.
Was something they never put in the movie, but it was this idea that they had.
Because Yona just like runs in,
and this entire movie she's been able to kind of like pick up on things before they happen, like doors opening and that's like the very first one is don't open the door, and that's when all the axe murders. On the
first one she's like there's no one in that car.
Was that the first one?
Yeah, the first one she's like there's no one in that car, because there's a couple of cars they go through with no one in there, which also then makes you wonder like why have they all been just like stuffed in this one car when there's like 2 or 3 empty cars in front of them. Yeah, it's like they could have been spread out more. Yeah,
so like she appears to be clairvoyant, which I thought was really bizarre until I read that whole trained babies have different kind of hearing, which I was like, okay, I'll take that. That works for me.
So essentially, she runs in and opens up like a part of the floor, and then you see one of Octavia Spencer's kid who was taken earlier, Timothy, doing the gesture, like literally, but it's like
he's like unclogging something.
Yeah.
And it's another part that is extinct, and these kids are being taken to be in the engine to be parts. Again, not people or children. They're just replacement parts that we just can't make anymore. And that's kind of the
breaking point for Curtis.
Yeah, and then Curtis is like, I can't be this, basically.
And it's kind of like that moment when you realize like this train just is itself is a monster now.
Yeah, it's like that's an interesting idea. It has become like a monster. It's becoming a consuming monster. Interesting.
It's no longer like humanity's savior. It's turning into humanity's. It's not self-sustaining anymore.
No. Yeah.
Which then and Namgoon's whole thing is like he wants to blow open the door to go outside, but he's expecting to be able to close the Wilford door to be able to protect from the blast. And
the door's broken.
Yeah. Also, like the entire like rave party, because they stole all their drugs.
And then also,
and that's also a point that Wilford points out is like these like look at what happens.
They're animals.
They're animals out there. We need to keep them at bay.
Yeah, he's like kind of lost it in the. It's very BioShock.
Yeah, it is.
Very, very, except on a train. Like it's very BioShock feel, just in the dystopian. What is it? What's that line in Joker? Not Joker, in The Normal People, they'll eat each other. You know, like it's very
Dark Knight.
Yeah, it's very that kind of vibe to it.
It's not about the money. It's about sending a message.
I lost my train of thought. I distracted myself.
I mean, essentially, they use the cannoli as a C4 to blow open the door to go outside.
But it backfires hard.
Backfires hardcore.
And creates. This is where I was like, the whole redemption thing kind of goes like a little haywire, because so when the thing blows up, obviously, as you know, it causes an avalanche.
And Namgoon and Curtis then surround themselves around Yona and Timmy as like a shield, so hopefully they'll survive.
Yeah, and after the explosion, you see like you hear like you go to all these scenes of like the creaking and everything, and everyone's kind of looking around all confused, and then it cuts to a long shot of a massive avalanche is now coming down towards the train and destroys the train. inherently killing
everybody on the train, pretty much.
Majority of the human population.
It knocks the entire train off its rails.
Yeah. And so that's where I'm like, yeah, but I mean, he killed a lot of like people, even like the people in the back of the train, you know, the brainwashed kids that you might have been able to condition.
But like the avalanche, I think the avalanche wasn't expected.
No, totally. But it was just like, oh, that's what I'm saying. It backfired.
Yeah, no, it backfired. And also, I don't know, it's kind of a weird, sad ending to the movie because like you don't know, like it feels like it's supposed to be like hopeful because like Yona and Timmy get off the fucking train and they can actually walk around and they don't freeze to death immediately.
And you see a polar bear off in the distance, so life is happening.
Yeah, so life is happening, but also that polar bear is just gonna fucking eat them.
No, and it's also like, it's two train babies.
Yeah,
they've lived on the train their whole life. How are they gonna live in this? It's still it's a frozen land.
Yeah,
so it's supposed to be this kind of like, yay. But then if you think about
I think it's something more like, oh well, what the fuck happens now? What can happen next?
It's like logistically, their survival rate's probably not great.
Yeah. Which
you're like,
but it does make you wonder if there's maybe humans that are still alive outside, like if polar bears still exist.
Yeah, but it's a polar bear versus a human.
Well, yeah, but it just makes you wonder if a polar bear who can live more in extreme temperatures, yes, but did every part of the entire world become as frozen as everybody say?
Mm.
Because we also only know the truth of the train.
Yeah, that's true. It's all just from the lens of the train.
Yeah. So if the polar bear if there is life outside of the train, that means there is life somewhere else, possibly. Maybe they've evolved into the weird things like in the time machine. I don't know.
That's a deep cut.
Yeah, right.
That's a cool movie.
Yeah, it is.
It's actually a pretty cool movie. Who's in that?
Guy Pearce.
Yeah, that was a cool one. Oh, and Jeremy Irons, is he the?
I just remember Guy Pearce.
I think Jeremy Irons is the leader of like the mutant.
Okay. I just remember Guy Pearce and the use of the time, how the time machine looked kind of cool.
It's very steampunk.
Yeah, and then like when he gets there and just like I guess how weird the creatures looked and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I remember. But
anyway, sorry. Different movie. All right, now join us for the.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, this movie, I think it really comes together in the end, and then kind of does also fall apart again at the end. But I think it really does have like there is a good like metaphor of like what is the point, like where revolution can lead to, you know. It's like when you finally get there to like take down the bourgeoisie, you know, the higher up the higher class. Where does that get you? Where can you go from there? You know, how do you restart everything?
Well, yeah, and that's the thing too. Is like, so yeah, that's how do you?
Because like once Curtis reaches the engine, and yeah, if he overthrows Wilford and turns off the engine or what have you, then yeah, now Curtis has to lead these people. And he also said he doesn't want to be a leader, you know?
Yeah. But everyone's like depending on him to be a leader.
And then it's going to be like this idea of like, well, then the people that have been living in squalor, now they're just going to be automatically put into the higher class. It's like, no, everybody needs to be in one equal class. So it's like the people, you know, there needs to be a balance with it all.
Yeah, and that's kind of like, I mean, that was what I thought was kind of interesting. I was thinking about, I was like, well, usually in these kind of situations, whether it be like a real life example or like in a dystopian kind of movie like this, the lower class is used as an expendable workforce.
Like how the French were.
Yeah. So, but like what is shown is the kids are used for little parts in the engine, and then there's that one guy that makes the food. Mm-hmm. What is everyone else doing?
Well, then also
besides breeding little kids.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everyone you could find stuff for them to be doing.
Oh, like the violinist.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
The violinist who moves up one out, but even still, it's like everyone like so. The kids don't have to be the cog in the machine like that. You could actually, you know, maybe there's like it's a rotating position that people have to do. It's like, well, this is my job. I have to clean out this thing, otherwise this train stops.
Oh yeah, and then I guess it's also like to replace a barber. You take a kid and put him up in the front of the train to teach him how to be a barber. Mm-hmm. You have just you have your replacement generations.
Yeah.
Okay. I just thought it was weird because usually.
But there is a thing that like, and a big thing Wilfred says, there needs to be population control on this train, because as soon as you have too many mouths, things are going to start.
No, yeah,
out,
yeah.
you know?
But that's what I was thinking. I was like, well, like usually the lower class would do maintenance on the outside of the train, and you can't. But you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I just thought it was interesting. But yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense.
I think maybe a big thing was when at the beginning is like all of the people that were let on without a ticket and whatnot. I don't think they were expected to survive as long. I think when they started turning cannibalistic, they were like, there was like, oh, we were just expecting a bunch of people to die back there out of starvation and whatnot, and then those who survived that, maybe let them come up. I don't know. It's just kind of like, why let a bunch of people on for them to just like slowly die? It's like it's either let them die outside or let them die on the train.
I think that goes back to the kind of thin dystopian world explanation, because there is a lot of that, because even like, and again, it's like with Wilfred and Gilliam, it's like their relationship, he doesn't need to explain to you why they came up with this. From, if you want to make it like let's say they're two real people, you don't need to know as the audience. It's like he doesn't need to explain that to Curtis, aka explain it to the audience. But there is that kind of question, like, how did you convince Gilliam to do this? And was cutting off the arm also part of that?
Yeah, right.
Or was it you heard about what Gilliam did and realized that he was in this position of power, and then you chose him as your partner?
Yeah.
Like, was he already in the squalor and you're like, well, what if we work together to keep, you know what I mean? There's just a lot, that's the thin veil you're given of this.
Yeah.
And sometimes it does work in a film to kind of keep this ambiguous kind of history that you kind of put it together. But that's the thing. There isn't enough to kind of create your own narrative. It leaves you with more questions of why. Not, oh, what if?
Which is like you were saying, that's just kind of like when you have a dystopian world, there's a lot of those little like questions, which I'm pretty sure obviously the graphic novel is not the same story, but I'm pretty sure there's probably in the novel and in the FX series show a lot more explained of like what this train world is and whatnot.
Yeah.
And how the classism works. So, but I don't know. Where do you rate this movie? Where are we at?
So I don't know. This is the second time I've seen it. This is the first time you've seen it.
Mm-hmm. It's like in between a wet mogwai and no, it's a wet mogwai, because I feel like there is a good strong there is a good story about revolution in it and that journey, and then really just like how they really kind of do get into some of the nitty gritty of like what these people in Squalor had to live through, but it just kind of like it still leaves a lot to be like. Well, yeah, questioned.
Yeah, the revolutionary thing. So, like, the pros, like Curtis's arc is interesting because he's not just like the hero. He is.
Well, I mean, it also kind of question if you really want to like put it into comparison into the real world. Is when we think about like people that are like trying to cause these like revolutions today, how much of that is actually like pre-planned and orchestrated by a higher government. Idea.
Like
it's like
facilitator almost.
It's like, oh, we're like having the media outlets feed information to a specific group of people for them to respond in a very specific way.
We're letting you go this far, kind of thing.
Yeah,
this is how far we want you to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, then like Curtis's whole like story arc is interesting because he's not just like hero guy. It's like he's a man with a troubled past kind of thing. Visually, it's cool. I really liked all like the fancy cars. Like I thought the design was really cool. My partner was like, "How's there an aquarium?" I was like, "Sis, like,
yeah,
it's a frozen, it's a train. Like, let's just go with it. Like, who cares?" But
yeah, some train cars seemed much larger than other train cars.
Yeah, like the aquarium one. Like,
yeah. Mogwai. That's a wet Mogwai.
Yeah,
a wet Mogwai.
Teetering on a after midnight kind of thing because I mean I'm just like a big like what's saving it is like probably like the visuals for me too. It just looks really gritty and like looks really cool. But yeah, let's just do that. But yeah, let us know what you thought of it.
It really just made me think of A Tale of Two Cities a lot.
Mm.
You know, that's why I made that immediate connection with the French Revolution because of I don't know. I think I maybe went from French Revolution to Tale of Two Cities in connection, but as soon as I thought of A Tale of Two Cities, I was like, this is, since it's a French story, I really feel like there's a lot of you know, but also South Korea itself has so much that it wants to separate from North Korea as well, you know. So it's surrounded by and created by people that have a history of revolution out of tyrannical, and the
threat of tyrannical.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that.
Yeah. So, do you remember what we're doing next week?
No.
It's one of your favorite movies.
Mad Max?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let us know what you think about Snowpiercer. Go ahead and throw us a comment, all that kind of stuff. But next week, we're going to continue with our block, and we're going to do Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah.
Which is one of my favorite movies ever.
Yep. And I've never seen it.
Love that movie.
I told Rufo that I hadn't seen it yet, and he's like, "What? How? What? How? What?"
For a year straight, I watched that movie every single night.
Yeah, there you go.
Just thought it was it's such a visual fuck fest. Just ridiculousness. I love it.
Well, I'm excited to watch, Waterworld in sand.
All right. So, yeah, go ahead and subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Love to hear from you. So let us know what you think of either Snowpiercer or Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah. Give us suggestions for maybe themes or ideas.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. I guess that's it, right?
I think that's all she wrote.
All right. Well, this is Tommy.
This is Jacob.
This is Tommy and Jacob's mixtape. Bye.